Hi. Are you tired of the same old approaches of weight loss, dieting, counting calories, starving yourself? Or do you avoid weight loss programs altogether because of the old cycle of I'm going to do it this time, and then you cheat a little and guilt and blame and down the downward spiral you go? Am I right? Well, I've been there too. 12 years ago, I gained 40 pounds, and because I was in hypnosis and NLP at the time, I applied brain changing to my mind to change my results. But if you've been dieting, struggling, you know what? You're not alone. Research is showing us most people can't do diets. Diets don't work. And so go ahead and follow me along this webisode, and I'll show you why diets are setting us up to fail and what you can do about it instead. Hi, I'm Holly Stokes, the brain trainer, and over the last more than a decade, I've been helping thousands of clients change the brain habits and patterns that get in the way. Craving, self-sabotage, lack of motivation, lack of confidence. And I want to share with you in this webisode why diets set us up to fail and what you can do about it instead. So, as I mentioned before, most people are not achieving the results they want with diets. Most people gain the weight back even plus more. I want to share these two quotes. By some estimates, 80% of people who have lost weight regain all of it or more within 2 years. One study from UCLA showed 31 long-term diet studies and found 2/3 of dieters regained more weight within 4 or 5 years than they initially lost. So the researchers concluded that they would have been better to have not dieted at all. What? This is kind of counterintuitive, right? We think, weight loss is eat less, move more, very simple. However, there's brain habits and patterns running in the background of your mind that are, keeping you falling off the wagon, running those cravings, running that sabotage. Another researcher on the study said that studies indicate dieting is actually a consistent predictor of future weight gain. What? Yes. So don't diet. Don't do that, right? So diets don't work, and there's several pieces in here that I want to walk through. And the first one is this cycle of failure. And, this is how we set goals, kind of sets us up to fail to begin with. And then, of course, short-term focus, and we'll go through the rest of these as we go through. But it starts with this cycle of failure, and I call it the goal-setting cycle. So in setting a goal, we pick point A is where we are at the moment. Point B is that mountaintop over there, or someday, then I'll lose the weight, I'll release the extra weight. And so we pick the goal, point A to point B, and then if we're really detailed and oriented, oh, look, I got a typo in there, specific. We might make it a SMART goal, specific, measurable, realistic, and on a timeline, right? And then we get excited and maybe we're motivated and we dig in. I'm going to do it this time. And we start working that goal, working that plan. And then a few more days roll by and we start to lose momentum. Oh, life happens. Oh, put it off till tomorrow, or something else comes up. Oh, put it off on the weekend. And then a few more days roll by, maybe even a week, and we lose that momentum. And finally, at some point within the first couple weeks even, we give up on the goal. So we go ahead and tuck that goal into the goals in the graveyard with all of the goals of the past. But before we do, we have to eulogize over that goal. And what that sounds like is, you're just lazy, undisciplined, unmotivated. And then we finally tuck it away and bury it in the graveyard. So this is not the end of the goal-setting cycle. No, what happens then is the next time that we go to set a goal, we get visitations from the ghosts of goals past. You're just lazy, undisciplined, unmotivated. What makes you think you'll do it this time? Do you recognize that one? That's one of mine. So what do we do when we're kind of caught in this cycle of struggle? Well, part of this is that process of goal setting. And when we go through this process of goal setting, it takes the wind out of our sails. So even before we get started, we have all of this past history included in how we see and experience ourselves in a program. And diets really don't work. And these are the key reasons why. One is that cycle of failure of our past history, our past patterns of procrastination are already working against us. So when we go to start another program, it's not a clean slate. It includes our whole past history. Another key reason is very short-term focus. Most diets were not meant to be followed long-term. Have you heard of the grapefruit and tuna diet? Yeah, how long do you think that one's gonna last? Anytime that we do weird things with our food or fad diets, we're putting our body out of balance or putting our system out of balance. A lot of diets are too restrictive. And another key point is willpower doesn't last. Yeah, you might pass up the donuts in the morning, the cookie in the afternoon, but the ice cream calls you from the freezer. Am I right? Yeah, so we have to address those things. Now, the real reason, like underneath these things, these are all part of that, part of the process. But the real underlying reasons diets don't work is they're not really addressing the real issues. What's going on is that our brain is wired a certain way. So I really want you to get this point. It's not that you failed the diet, it's that diets failed you. They don't work. Weight loss industry is $4 billion every year and growing, and American waistlines are growing as well. So they don't work. They haven't worked for you, and they don't work for anyone. So stop beating yourself up about it. And what we need to do is change this old cycle of struggle and feeling like we failed. So I want you to get this principle. It comes from the field of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which says the neurons in our brain and our linguistics, our language patterns, and the programming of how our brain is wired really includes all of our past history. And it's a coding system that we can tap into and help the brain make updates and changes fairly quickly. So NLP says there is no failure, there is only feedback, there is only results. And so if we look at the results we've been getting, we can recognize, if I don't have the results that I want, the past strategies aren't working, right? So it's simply to try something new. Now you could give up, and maybe you've given up in other programs, but just like a kid riding a bicycle, each time you get back on the bicycle, your brain learns to adjust and you figure out what works as you're keeping your balance and keeping your focus. And so this time it can be different because you can apply all that you already know, plus the right strategies and the right support to address the brain habits that are the true culprit behind the difficulty with weight. So what do we do instead? Well, the real reasons we gain weight are these old habits: stress, cravings, mental blocks, self-sabotage. Old habits, some of those we're aware of, the obvious ones are the physical habits like overeating, needing to eat a sweet after every meal. That was one of mine that I grew up with. Needing to clean your plate club right here. So stress, those habits are obvious. Now, stress can be habits in your brain that are not as obvious, that things happen like that trigger our brain, and our body then goes into a stress pattern. Things like worry can do that. Anxiety, fears, negative thinking, all of those things can be part of the brain habits that are running in the background. And cravings, where do they come from? They're not logical and rational. I know I shouldn't be eating this, but here I go, right? And mental blocks, and then self-sabotage. Often sounds like the part of me that wants to and the part of me that doesn't. Or I know what I need to do, I just can't make myself do it. So unless we address these underlying patterns, you'll probably continue to struggle unless you can get, unless you can manage your brain and get it focused in the right direction. So steps to lasting ideal healthy weight really include two pieces. One is the long-term focus. So shifting from, I'm just going to do this, restriction XYZ for 30 days and then I'll lose 20 pounds. We really need to shift that to recognizing we're creating health for the long term. What's good for your body over time is our lifestyle changes that you can live with. And unless you create lifestyle change, then you're not going to be successful. But you can be successful. And the second piece that can really set you up for success is to change these brain habits. Change the food habits from the past, the stress habits that cause our body to hold on to extra weight and even cause some of those cravings. And plus the cravings, those are wired into our brain from old patterns. And sabotage. By severely cutting out or restricting a food, it can come with a backlash. Unless we get the part of us that wants to and the part of us that doesn't, we can integrate them, get them on board so you stop that inner conflict and that inward battle. So go ahead and go to alighteryousystem.com to watch all of the videos in this episode. And I wanted to share this picture with you. This is my before and after. Over 12 years ago, I released 40 pounds with no dieting, no counting calories, no depriving myself, no exhaustive exercise, no boxed meals. Yeah, no kidding. So I share that because I did it and you can too if you have the right support and get your brain into the right focus by changing the brain habits and patterns that are at the root cause of the challenges that you're experiencing. So go to alighteryousystem.com and watch all of the videos in the series, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side.